In this video, we are asking, do you have what it takes to achieve a life-changing goal? We've all had moments when we've wanted to do something big, something that could completely change our lives. Maybe it's starting a business, writing a book, getting fit, moving abroad, or finally changing careers. But wanting it isn't the same as achieving it. If you're like most people, you stopped somewhere between the idea and the finish line. So what separates those who actually achieve their life-changing goals from those who only dream about them? This video is brought to you by Spark Principles for Success. We believe that knowledge is not enough. It doesn't matter how much you know, if you don't have the traits to support your goal, you will not succeed. In this video, we're talking about why most of us don't achieve our goals and what we can do to improve our chances of success. There's a quiz for this on the website called, "Do You Have What It Takes to Achieve a Life-Changing Goal?" I'll leave a link for it below. Nobody ever claimed that life was fair, and that is definitely true when it comes to resources. If you have money, connections, or family support, achieving your goals can feel a lot smoother. Resources make things easier, and encouragement helps when you hit rough patches. But what if your goal depends entirely on you, with no safety net and no one cheering from the sidelines? That's when grit, self-belief, and sheer determination matter most. When progress relies on your own consistency, not convenience, it's your inner drive that carries you through. Those who achieve life-changing goals without backup learn to push forward even when no one's watching. They become self-reliant, resilient, and quietly unstoppable, proving that sometimes the hardest road builds the strongest person. Are you prepared to give your goal 100% commitment? The phrase, "the poverty of our intentions," originally used by Elie Wiesel, fits perfectly when we think about personal goals and self-development. It highlights how easy it is to speak of change without following through. Many people mean well, but good intentions alone do not create progress. Wanting to improve, start a project, or change direction is a good beginning, but without consistent action, it becomes empty. The real poverty lies not in the lack of ambition, but in the failure to act. When we delay, make excuses, or wait for the perfect time, we trade growth for comfort. True wealth of intention comes when words turn into effort and effort turns into results. Life-changing goals start with a clear vision. You can't hit a target you can't see. Life-changing goals need clarity and emotional weight. They are rarely vague because vague goals have no power. The people who go on to achieve something remarkable don't just say what they want, they create a detailed picture of it. They know what success will look like, how it will feel, and even how their life will change as a result. A clear vision gives your mind a direction and your energy a purpose. Without it, your efforts scatter. You might stay busy, but not necessarily productive. When you can see the goal vividly, it becomes easier to recognize opportunities that move you closer to it and to avoid distractions that pull you off course. Defining your why is equally important. A strong reason gives meaning to the work, especially on the hard days. It becomes your anchor when motivation fades and your reminder of why you started in the first place. Ask yourself, can I describe my goal so clearly that someone else could picture it too? Can I explain why it matters to me? The more specific and emotionally connected your vision is, the more likely it is to become real. In the early days of thinking that you want major change, the goal seems clear. The novelty and excitement of it seems bright, and the way forward feels obvious. You can picture yourself at the finish line. You feel ready. But somewhere between that first spark of inspiration and the actual work, something shifts. The path gets harder. Progress slows. Doubt creeps in. And if you don't have the traits that support the work it takes to achieve that goal, it will fall by the wayside. So which traits matter most? After looking at what separates those who finish from those who fade, 6 stand out: clarity, self-motivation, discipline, resilience, self-belief, and adaptability. These aren't nice-to-haves, they're the foundation. You need to know exactly what you're working towards and why. You need the drive to keep going when no one's watching. You need the discipline to show up on the days you don't feel like it. You need resilience to bounce back when things go wrong. You need to believe you're capable even before you have proof. And you need adaptability to adjust your approach without losing sight of where you're headed. These 6 traits work together. One without the others leaves gaps. But when you develop all 6, you build something powerful: the ability to turn a dream into reality no matter how long it takes. Spark Principles is built on the premise that knowledge is not enough. You need the traits that support the goal or purpose. You can read every book, watch every video, and understand exactly what needs to be done. But if you don't have the traits to back it up, you won't succeed. Sometimes experience helps you build those traits. You might push harder, work longer, force yourself through the discomfort for a while. But if the trait doesn't actually become part of who you are, at some point it will fail you. You'll resort to type. You'll fall back into old patterns. The effort was there, but the transformation wasn't.
That's why we say you need to gather your ingredients before you start. If you're baking a cake, you don't go to the kitchen, switch on the oven, and then look to see if you have the ingredients. Setting a goal is similar. Before starting, you need to assess the ingredients required and make sure you have them, or a way to compensate. Otherwise, you will not succeed. Before you commit, look at what traits the goal requires. Do you have them? Can you develop them? Are you willing to become the kind of person who possesses them? The clues to your chances of success are all around you. They're in the small things you do every day, how you handle disappointment, whether you follow through on promises to yourself, how you respond when no one's watching. In general, how you do one thing is an indication of how you do everything. If you're inconsistent in small commitments, you'll struggle with big ones. If you quit when things get uncomfortable, that pattern will show up in your major goals too. Your everyday behavior reveals the traits you've actually built, not just the ones you wish you had. Encouragement can help, but it will never carry you across the finish line. True self-motivation comes from within, and it is one of the strongest predictors of success. It is that quiet, determined energy that pushes you forward when no one else is around to remind you. Self-motivation is not something you either have or do not have. It is something you build over time through mindset, purpose, and daily habits. When you are deeply connected to your reason for pursuing a goal, you no longer need constant reminders or rewards. You begin to move from wanting something to being driven by it. This shift is what turns effort into progress. Every small action you take reinforces your sense of purpose, and over time, it becomes part of who you are. If you find yourself depending on others to keep you going, it might not mean you lack discipline. More often, it means the goal is not rooted deeply enough in your values. When you uncover a genuine reason that matters to you, motivation becomes more natural. You stop needing to be pushed because your direction starts pulling you forward. Self-motivation thrives on clarity, structure, and belief. Set small, achievable milestones to prove to yourself that you can make progress. Celebrate those wins, no matter how minor they seem, because they build momentum. In time, you begin to trust yourself to keep going. That trust, more than anything else, is what keeps you moving long after the initial excitement fades. Finding your why is one of the most powerful steps in building self-motivation. It is the difference between forcing yourself to act and feeling naturally driven to move forward. Your why is your purpose, the deeper reason that gives meaning to your goals. Without it, even simple tasks can feel like a struggle.
With it, you tap into a source of energy that sustains you through challenges and setbacks. As Friedrich Nietzsche said, he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. That single idea captures the essence of resilience. When your purpose is strong, the difficulties you face become manageable because they serve something meaningful. Modern leadership expert Simon Sinek built on this concept in his book Start With Why. He argues that success begins with clarity of purpose, not with plans or tactics. People do not truly commit to what you do, but to why you do it. The same applies on a personal level. When you understand your own why, motivation stops being something you chase and becomes something you live. To find your why, look beyond outcomes and ask yourself what truly drives you. What problem are you trying to solve, or what change do you want to create? When your actions align with your deeper purpose, self-motivation becomes a steady force rather than a fleeting feeling. A lot is said about discipline and why it might not be the real reason you procrastinate or fail to follow through. The suggestion is often that you need to look deeper at subconscious blocks or hidden resistance. That may be true. Discipline doesn't exist in isolation. But when things get tough, when the path forward isn't clear, when something more appealing calls your attention, you still need discipline to say, no, this is my goal, and I will pursue it relentlessly even when the going gets hard. When the excitement fades, discipline takes over. Every major goal begins with enthusiasm, but enthusiasm is temporary. It sparks the start, not the finish. Discipline is what carries you through the long middle, the stretch between the initial burst of energy and the moment results begin to show. It's the quiet commitment to keep going, to show up, and to do the work even when it no longer feels exciting. Discipline is not about being strict or joyless. It's about creating habits that make progress possible even on your worst days. Small, repeatable actions build momentum, and that momentum compounds over time. You don't need to rely on willpower when your habits take over. Each consistent action reinforces your identity as someone who follows through. When discipline becomes part of who you are, you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop waiting to feel ready. You just act because that's what you do. The people who achieve life-changing goals aren't necessarily the most talented or the luckiest. They're the ones who keep showing up. They understand that inspiration is unreliable and feelings are temporary. Discipline bridges the gap between wanting something and actually doing the work to get it. It teaches patience, strengthens resilience, and builds self-respect. When you learn to keep promises to yourself, even in silence and without applause, you become unstoppable. In the end, discipline frees you. It removes the daily battle with motivation and replaces it with structure. When your actions become part of who you are, progress becomes inevitable. Excitement will always fade, but discipline ensures you keep moving long after it does. Success is rarely a single dramatic leap. It's the result of countless quiet steps taken with intention. Resilience works hand in hand with discipline. At some point, you will face setbacks. Everyone does. No matter how well you plan or how determined you are, challenges are inevitable. What defines success is not avoiding them, but how you respond when they arrive. Resilience is not about pretending everything is fine or pushing through blindly. It is about recovering, adjusting, and finding the strength to continue when things do not go to plan. True resilience is built in the moments when quitting feels easier. It grows when you face disappointment and choose to learn from it instead of letting it define you. Every time you get back up, you strengthen your belief in your own ability to handle life. Resilient people do not ignore pain or failure. They process it, understand it, and then use it as fuel to move forward. Adaptability is a key part of resilience. Sometimes it means changing your approach, asking for help, or rethinking your timeline. It is not weakness to adapt, it is wisdom. The most successful people are rarely those who never fall, but those who refuse to stay down. It is not failure that stops people. It is the story they tell themselves about it. If you see failure as proof that you are not capable, it becomes a wall. If you see it as feedback, it becomes a teacher. Every setback carries information about what works, what doesn't, and what needs to change. Resilience turns that information into progress. So far, we've talked about clarity, self-motivation, and resilience. But what will happen when someone challenges you on your idea? Will you give up? You can have the best plan in the world, but if you do not believe you can succeed, you will find ways to hold yourself back. Self-belief is part of the wheel that keeps these traits turning. They all depend on each other. Without self-belief, discipline wavers, motivation fades, and even clear goals lose their meaning. Confidence is not arrogance, and it is not the absence of fear. It is the quiet conviction that you can handle what comes your way, and that even if you do not have all the answers now, you can learn along the journey. Many people wait to feel confident before they start, but confidence is not a starting point. It is a result of action. Every time you take a step forward, however small, you prove to yourself that you are capable. Each win, each completed task, each moment of perseverance builds evidence that strengthens your belief in yourself. Over time, this evidence becomes your armor against doubt. Self-belief does not guarantee instant success, but it makes progress possible. When challenges arise, belief keeps you in the game long enough to find solutions. It helps you reframe setbacks as temporary, not final. People who believe in themselves are more likely to take risks, ask for help, and stay open to learning, all of which accelerate growth. Believing in yourself does not mean assuming it will be easy. It means trusting that whatever happens, you can adapt, adjust, and keep going. Confidence is built through courage, not comfort. When you back yourself fully, you move differently, think differently, and act with a quiet determination that others notice. Every small win reinforces that belief, and with each one, your potential expands a little further. Your environment plays a far greater role in your success than most people realize. The people you spend time with, the routines you follow, and the spaces you live and work in all shape your mindset and motivation. A supportive environment makes progress feel natural. It reinforces your goals, helps you stay focused, and reminds you of what is possible when doubt begins to creep in. Surrounding yourself with people who encourage growth, who hold you accountable, and who celebrate your wins creates a positive cycle that strengthens consistency and fuels momentum. But not everyone starts with that kind of environment. You may find yourself surrounded by negativity, people who doubt your ambitions, or influences that pull you back to old habits. When that happens, your inner world becomes even more important. You have to build an environment based on intention, not circumstance. That might mean limiting time with people who drain your energy, joining new communities that inspire you, or setting clear boundaries that protect your focus and self-belief. You can also shape your environment through structure and routine. A tidy workspace, a consistent schedule, and visible reminders of your goals can make a big difference. Books, podcasts, mentors, and online groups can act as your circle of support until you find your real one. Every positive input strengthens your mindset and reinforces your sense of direction. The right environment aligns with your vision, supports your discipline, and fuels your belief in what you can achieve. If you don't have it, create it. You have more control over your surroundings than you think, and every small change you make to support your growth will compound over time. Of course, there are examples of people who have been successful due to luck, talent, or timing, and even a combination of all three. But that's not realistic for most of us. Without those, we'll have to slog it out. It's all about traits. The people who achieve life-changing goals tend to share qualities like focus, persistence, adaptability, and self-motivation. These traits aren't fixed. They can be developed, strengthened, and mastered over time. If you're serious about your next big goal, start by asking, which of these traits do I already have, and which do I need to build? The difference between dreaming and doing often comes down to one thing: who you become along the way. Lasting growth doesn't come from quick fixes. It comes from building traits that compound over time. With the Spark Principles Trait Mastery subscription, you'll follow a framework that makes self-improvement simple, practical, and sustainable. The link is in the description. Along with a link to our quiz, do you have what it takes to achieve a life-changing goal? Let me know in the comments what you want to achieve. Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Please like and subscribe to help us keep bringing you videos that help you unlock your potential one trait at a time.